Hi, thanks for tuning in at Xraised, where knowledge meets inspiration in the intricate dance of industry evolution. This episode is a real treat because we're sitting down with two ladies who are shaping the future of law and architecting entirely new ways lawyers around the world learn, think, reason, and even collaborate. On one side, we have an award winning barrister who quite literally set out to give herself a perfect memory and ended up creating one of Australia's most advanced AI legal research engines. And on the other side, we've got a global legal powerhouse who spent over 30 years building cross border legal communities from top tier European law firms all the way to founding the Balkans' largest full service practice. So, yes, a barrister who builds an AI platform that's now catching the attention of many, and a former law firm founder who builds global learning communities through her social audio platform for lawyers. If that's not a fascinating mix, I don't know what is. So it's a pleasure to be surrounded with these brilliant women: Laina Chan, founder and CEO of MiAI Law, and Patricia Gannon, founder and CEO of Platform 9. Hello, ladies.
Hello, hello. Great to be here.
Thank you. Happy to have you back, Lena. And thank you for bringing over Patricia. Welcome to the show. I'm pretty excited for this one. So let's jump right in because you're both working on something incredibly timely. The idea that the future of legal intelligence is more than just about AI. And it isn't just about human reasoning, too. It's what happens when you combine them strategically. So, from where you both sit, what's one area of legal reasoning where AI is finally a real advantage, not just another tool on the shelf, but something that actually changes how a lawyer thinks or solves a problem?
From my perspective, I'll leave it to Lena to go into the sort of the deep AI side. But from my perspective, I think it's the first time we realize the opportunity that lawyers and law firms have to really utilize the data that they're sitting on. We have, without being aware of it, we've been sitting on vast amounts of knowledge and data that we really have in a very basic way, utilized in the performance of legal services. And I think this is a huge opportunity to create new tools, new products that relate to the work that we do using AI.
I think global justice really does, in part, come down to networks because you have to have the global network in order to do global work. Because even if we're doing cross-border work, typically you will have a lawyer in every jurisdiction. You can't do, like, an Australian lawyer is not admitted in Europe, Spain, for example, use my example. We need to have a Spanish lawyer on board if we're doing cross-border work. But what AI can do is you can use a good legal AI research tool to help you at least familiarize yourself with the overseas law. So while you may not be qualified to act in Spain, for example, you still can use an AI tool to at least bring you up to speed so that we're really opening up, shining light into the black box of what global law might be.
Understood.
I think it's really, as Patricia says, it's all the data in the world, which
Mhm.
a human without AI cannot possibly get on top of. But with the help of AI, a good AI tool, you can help use that AI tool to shine the light on the global state of the law.
It brings it closer, doesn't it? I mean,
Yes.
it means it's not so distant, it's not so far away. It empowers us to engage in the type of work that we maybe historically wouldn't have been able to do so easily. I think it's a great opportunity. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I've told you about this global succession international matter that I'm doing. I could get on top of the law really quickly, and of course, then I confirmed it with the Spanish lawyer, and I also confirmed it with specialists in succession law in Australia and private international law. But the fact is, and it was all correct. My research had returned all the correct answers. I checked all the sources, but I also then checked it with specialists in all the various jurisdictions to make sure that I had gotten it right. And I could do it really quickly. Whereas otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do this for this client, like, really efficiently and in a cost-effective way. Because at the end of the day, I bore all the costs of bringing myself up to speed. I didn't charge her for any of that. I've only, charged her for the actual doing of preparing correspondence and etc. for her. But I wouldn't have done it if I hadn't been able to use my AI law, for example, to bring myself up to speed so quickly.
Right.
It would have been cost prohibitive and time prohibitive. I wouldn't have been able to do it.
Well, it's just interesting how you both framed it, and hearing you explain it that way, it really hits how much time, data, as you said, Patricia, and cognitive load lawyers carry from, just sorting, filtering, double checking, context matching. And in business operations, we call that operational drag. And AI, removing that drag is, well, it's a different kind of productivity conversation. It's all about clarity with all the data that you can utilize. In this case, your platform. And I think it's also decision quality. So, Patricia, let me come your way. You built Platform 9 into this global social audio hub where lawyers connect through conversation, live, raw, I learned, unfiltered, but guided. So, for anyone who's discovering you for the very first time today, what made you build a platform centered specifically on voice driven learning for legal professionals?
Yes, well, thank you for the question. I guess a lot of this motivation came from my long-standing career as a law firm owner. So I built a large law firm. I realized in doing so, there was a massive disconnect between senior lawyers' access to content and junior lawyers' access to content. And I think particularly as we're transitioning the profession in itself, we need to look at new ways in which younger lawyers in particular can get access to content in an efficient way, but also keeping it human. In an age of AI, we are still human lawyers providing usually the front end to the relationship with clients and each other, by the way, as professionals. So we're very much human first. So at the moment, our communities are built of lawyers from all over the world who gather in forums, and those forums are the communities of specialized lawyers with curated content. So we talk about genuine, issues that matter to them as the profession is evolving. So ultimately, for the young ones who don't get access so easily to international conferences, and they may get a lot of content on LinkedIn and other tools, but ultimately, how do you ask questions? How do you find out for yourself in a very authentic way? Putting you on the spot where you maybe don't know the answer, but actually this is the real life for lawyers. Quite often we're in front of clients and we don't know answers. How can we ensure that we hold on and fine tune those skills as young lawyers so that we become better lawyers, tech enabled lawyers, absolutely efficient, but still human.
I agree. And you're absolutely right. Voice is really powerful. That's why we're here. So thanks
Exactly.
also thanks also for highlighting the difference of the opportunities that the small, versus a big law firms have access to. And it makes sense. Lawyers think in dialogue. You argue, you question, you refine ideas out loud. I think what you're both building feels like a digital version of those hallway conversations you see at conferences. The ones people say were more valuable than the event itself. I'm sure you've encountered that.
Patricia is. I'm not.
You've
No, Patricia is building that, but I'm not building that.
more often, I guess. But now, here's something fascinating about both of you. You're designing systems that improve different parts of the legal brain. Laina, you're strengthening analytical memory and research. While you, Patricia, you're strengthening community intelligence and shared experience. What gap in the modern legal profession are you each most determined to close through your platforms?
Laina, I'll hand that to you. What I think.
Okay. I'm closing the knowledge gap. I am democratizing access to knowledge so that so long as you have access to our tool, it doesn't matter whether you are, in a top tier law firm, in a small regional practice, as long as you're legally qualified and, a competent lawyer, then you know how to prompt the system to start the chain of inquiry to then start your knowledge gain.
And I'm plugging the communication and community gap. we cannot change or manage change without communicating very effectively about it, which lawyers historically have not done so well. So we need to up our game on communication, and we certainly need to build communities, because ultimately that's going to be what sustains all of the younger lawyers, but all of us at the end of the day. We've all enjoyed building communities, building relationships, building networks, building our business that way, and we've found a new and efficient way to do it.
So yours is actually like you're doing like community CLEs, community legal education.
Yes, yes. And not all of it necessarily is practice, is necessarily, whilst we have an international arbitration forum, we have an M&A forum, but we also have coaching, we have, law firm management, we have path to partnership, we have law students. So we have a bunch of different communities. All of them have specific needs and interests. And that's how they connect with each other. So the idea is that we connect in live interactive sessions that are recorded and then they're transcribed and summarized with AI. So we have all of those resources available. And now we've just built out a feature that allows them to communicate, like Twitter within our app, that allows them to communicate, ask questions, attach documents, brochures, content, draft legislation, whatever, all around the particular community or forum, So yeah, we're trying to, because LinkedIn doesn't do that. You could spend all day, every day scrolling through LinkedIn, and there's lots of wonderful content out there, but they don't build communities. In fact, nobody really does particularly effectively.
Mhm. Well,
No.
those are such great points. And, since I was a kid, I always see people like you guys so generous to share the knowledge and, open this community to share what you know that are quite hard to access. And hearing how both your platforms chip away these silos is very exciting, not only for lawyers, I mean, for anyone who relies on good decisions. So, Lena, I want to zoom in on MiAI Law since we touched on that earlier. As we know, and most of our listeners know already by now, it can deliver instant, evidence backed answers on issues that used to take days or weeks of research. When you think of lawyers
Days.
at yeah.
Days.
So when you think of lawyers at different stages of their career, from juniors to seniors to partners, how do you see this reshaping what they actually spend their time on?
Okay, last week I was at this breakfast. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Sydney had a roundtable breakfast,
Mhm.
and there were two professors who presented their research on what's it called? The Skills Horizon. Wait, let me do a little plug for them. I've got the little book. They did a presentation reporting on the findings that they had in this Skills Horizon report. And they said that in their interviews with all the CEOs that they interviewed, they found that it was the senior practitioners or the senior professionals in the organization that were able to get better outputs from AI than the juniors. Because it does come down to prompting. It does come down to the question that you're asking, and you only know the question to ask if you are experienced or qualified in that area. So even me, like, right? So for example, my husband is saying, oh, there's some superannuation law that if you die and you are passing on your benefits in a lump sum benefit, in a benefit to your beneficiaries, it's taxed. So I thought I would ask my AI the question. It's really quite hard because I'm not a superannuation expert. I'm not a tax expert. It's actually quite hard to work out what the right question to ask is. And so, and I think the first question I asked was not very much on point. I actually asked, I named the wrong Income Tax Assessment Act, and then MiAI Law came back and said, although you said it was the Income Tax Assessment 1937 Act, it is actually the 1936 Act. And then it answered the question based on the 1936 Act. But I really, the first question was so general. And I didn't know I didn't know what to ask it to start it off the chain of inquiry. And I think the tool used properly will help the lawyers actually improve their knowledge because it's not a one-hit wonder. You ask the first question, you do the research, and then you read it and you go, all right, so I actually have to ask these other questions, and on it goes. Used properly, it can be a training tool.
It's like peeling the skin
Yeah.
of an onion, really, isn't it?
Yes.
There are
Yes.
layers and layers and layers. And I
Mhm.
agree with you. I think there's a little concern. There has to be a concern for younger lawyers who don't have that experience. But
Yes.
does it get better over time with your tool, where the more often that they use it, the better they become also at their prompting?
Mhm.
Yes, because but if they put the work in, right? So they ask the question, they get a very detailed report back. Everything is very precise. Like I know the guest yesterday said AI is not very precise. That's true if you're using a general language model and you're just relying on its internal training, but we're not. So we're very, very precise, and everything is down to we extract the ratio of every case, everything is footnoted to the precise pinpoint reference. So if you read those reports and all the reasoning steps are revealed, so we tell the junior lawyer, for example, the path of reasoning that the model went through and all the cases that were extracted and what were ultimately used to prepare the report. If they put in the work, then they will realize that, oh, right, there are these other sub issues I need to follow through. And then that will give them the hint or what the next follow-up questions to answer are. So you really still need junior lawyers. It's not
Yeah.
cost effective for a senior lawyer or senior partner to be doing this. It's just that used properly, it will really help close their knowledge gap and help them master their subject matter much faster.
Mhm. Gives them more experience, I guess.
Yes.
And
I mean,
clearly,
I have a work experience student
mhm.
here this week, and I asked her to come up with possible questions for our podcast today.
Yeah.
And what she did was I think she only put one prompt into the whatever AI she was using, and
Mhm.
it gave her a set of answers which she wasn't happy with, but she didn't know that what she had to do was go back to the AI and said, okay, I like that, but I want to refocus the question this particular area, etc. And I was trying to explain to her, you need to exhibit strong editorial control, and whatever
Yeah.
the AI gives you in the first hit, you don't
Mhm.
have to accept it. You can go back there and push the AI and say, well, this bit is good, but that bit. So we really
Exactly.
need to teach people how to prompt. And everyone is so worried that AI is here to replace them, but it's not, because if you learn to use these tools properly, you really show how valuable that you can be.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Right. And with that skill, the whole organization becomes more strategic. And it
Yes.
sounds like MyA Law gives lawyers that same level up moment. You're
I think
exactly right.
so
Mm-hmm.
because I have like in the matters that I've acted in, I've seen correspondence come in from the other side written by lawyers. Some of them just say things with which have no case authority backing them, and then when I run the same questions through AI, my AI, it tells me that these propositions that they've put forward with no legal authority are actually wrong. And
Uh-huh.
so yeah, and so if you have these tools, you can, I think you really increase the quality of your work.
Yes, definitely. And Patricia, let's bring this full circle. Platform 9 thrives on lived experience, real lawyers sharing real stories in real time. So, how do you imagine your community eventually interacting with AI powered research tools like My AI Law? What does a more collaborative, globally informed legal ecosystem look like when the conversational space and the research engine finally meet?
Well, it's interesting because one of the things I've always thought about is this idea of last mile law, in the sense that it's not done until it's done, and quite often, it's that last moment of intel or experience or access to somebody filing a document or the latest and how people expect. So there's a lot of oral. I mean, obviously, oral traditions are super important all over the world. We feel that within this community, just finger on the pulse kind of intel, which is above and beyond and more maybe up to date and maybe also globally comparative and ever changing. And, I still think this is what I would hope is that we are, there's a wonderful correlation between what's produced out of an AI tool, which is an efficient, either through research or drafting or whatever. But then we've got to deliver it. We've also got to deliver it. And humans quite often are in the loop when it comes to that delivery and getting that last bit, over the line, that either gets the deal done, gets the case won, gets whatever, the lawyer's in the loop.
Mhm. I love that. It's almost like you're describing a future where lawyers don't just work faster, they work together regardless of borders. And when you
Exactly.
And when you combine that with reliable AI research, like what Laina has, that's a kind of global legal intelligence we've never seen before. So,
Correct. Yeah,
mhm,
amazing that nobody's done what I'm doing. Nobody's doing what you're doing. If you haven't
mhm.
done before, and the fact that it's done by women, I think is also a
It's pretty good, isn't it?
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. And Lena has highlighted something from our previous episodes that always stuck with me, that the future of law isn't machines replacing judgment, but machines supporting judgment. And I think anyone tuning in today, even if they're a lawyer or not a lawyer, can see themselves in that. All these tech tools should remove the fog, definitely, not the human. And I think today's conversation really made that clear. Lena, Patricia, thank you both so much for sharing your insights and for the work you're doing. Incredible work you're doing. It's just inspiring, practical, and it gives us a glimpse of what the next decade of legal practice could look like. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I'm
Miles.
grateful for you to spend time with us. So I really appreciate it. So I encourage everyone to explore their work. You can learn more about Lena's AI-driven research tools at myai.law. And you better join Patricia's global legal community at platform9.com. Both platforms for sure are worth your attention, especially if you're in legal practice or building legal teams. And that wraps up today's episode of Xraised. Thank you for supporting conversations like this. Don't forget to catch our next episode with Lena and Patricia. This has been your host, Miles. Stay focused, driven, and inspired with Xraised.